Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump on Monday signaled readiness for possible trilateral talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin as European leaders gathered at the White House for urgent discussions on ending the prolonged discussion over the Russia-Ukraine acrimony.
Again, I was watching. Good. Thank you so much. I said that you first war will be. Hi, Ursula.
Good to see you. Again?
I was
watching. Good.
Thank you so much.
The hastily arranged summit follows Trump's Friday meeting with Putin in Alaska, where the two discussed potential terms of halting the conflict. Donald Trump has since suggested Ukraine should make concessions, including renouncing NATO membership and accepting the loss of Crimea. Donald Trump first held one-on-one talks with Volodymyr Zelensky, convening a larger session with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. European leaders excluded from Donald Trump's Alaska talks with Putin arrived in Washington determined to safeguard Ukraine's interest and press for durable security guarantees.
About our children, adopted children, and my wife, she, First Lady of Ukraine, she gave the letter.
U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House on Monday for a hastily arranged summit with several European leaders to discuss a path to ending Russia's war in Ukraine. At the meeting, Trump said the United States would help Europe in providing security guarantees for Ukraine.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
But Trump also suggested to reporters that he no longer believed reaching a ceasefire was a necessary prerequisite for striking a peace agreement. That is a position staked out by Russian President Vladimir Putin and opposed by Zelensky and most European leaders. During a sit-down with the other European leaders, Trump also said he expected Putin to release over 1,000 Ukrainian prisoners once he agrees to a trilateral meeting with Trump and Zelensky.
I know there's over 1,000 prisoners, and I know they're going to release them. Maybe they're going to release them very soon, like immediately, which I think is great.
Zelensky received the backing of the leaders of Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Finland, the European Union, and NATO, who traveled to Washington to demonstrate solidarity with Ukraine and push for strong security guarantees for the country in any post-war settlement.
Playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Monday's summit comes about 6 months after Trump's last White House meeting with Zelensky descended into disaster when Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance slammed him, saying he showed disrespect. This time, Zelensky described the one-on-one discussion as very good and said they had spoken about the importance of U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine.
This is very important that the United States gives such strong signal and is ready for security guarantees.
Putin has not publicly committed to a meeting with Trump and Zelensky, though Trump said repeatedly that he believes Putin wants to end the war. Trump said he had spoken to Putin on Monday and would call him after the talks as well. The war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, has killed or wounded more than 1 million people from both sides, including thousands of mostly Ukrainian civilians, according to analysts, and destroyed wide swaths of the country.
Before the summit, Donald Trump urged Ukraine to abandon its ambition to join NATO and its hopes of regaining Crimea, which Russia seized back in the year of 2014. Most of the world cast Russia's annexation of the peninsula as illegal.
I don't think you need a ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And I know that it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it. You have a ceasefire and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and, you know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept, you know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
The meetings come after Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for Russian President Vladimir Putin at a summit in Alaska back on Friday.
Mr. Putin, will you commit to not killing any more civilians?
I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
Thank you, Press. Thank you, Press.
But Donald Trump has already set the terms of the debate. He is openly questioning Ukraine's NATO aspirations. He is hinting that Kiev may have to give up its dream of membership in exchange for what he calls a quote-unquote tailor-made security guarantee. For Crimea too, his position seems very clear that the issue is settled.
We're going to work with Ukraine, we're going to work with everybody, and we're going to make sure that if there's peace, the peace is going to stay long-term. This is very long-term. We're not talking about a 2-year peace and then we end up in this mess again. We're going to make sure that everything's good. We'll work with Russia, we're going to work with Ukraine, and we're going to make sure it works. And I think if we can get to peace, it's going to work. I have no doubt about it.
Your team has talked about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved, but there'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
Mr. President, Vladimir Putin mentioned that the war will not end without addressing the root causes of this war. Have you had an understanding what are the root causes of this war?
Well, look, the war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end.
Now that mirrors exactly what Vladimir Putin is demanding. He wants Ukraine to cede the Donbas region, to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea, and in exchange, he is floating the idea of NATO-like security guarantee for Kiev. But Zelensky's stance could not be more different. Ukraine's constitution forbids giving up any territory. He rejects the idea of ceding Donbas or Crimea to Moscow. At most, he is willing to consider freezing the front lines where they stand today. Even so, Russia still controls about 20% of Ukraine's land.
First of all, you know, we live under each day attacks. You know that today have been a lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead, small one year and a half. So we need to stop this war, to stop Russia, and we need support American and European partners, and we will do our best for this. So, and I think we show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, of personally of President Trump, to stop this war, to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for Trilateral, as President said. This is a good signal about Trilateral. I think this is very good.
For Donald Trump, that is a deal, a headline piece, a victory for his negotiating style.
The war is going to end. When it ends, I can't tell you, but the war is going to end, and this gentleman wants it to end, and Vladimir Putin wants it to end. I think the whole world is tired of it, and we're going to get it ended. It was You know, I've done 6 wars. I've ended 6 wars, and I thought this maybe would be the easiest one, and it's not the easiest one. It's a tough one. A lot of reasons for it, and they'll be talking about it for a long time. But they'll be talking about the others. Look, India, Pakistan. We're talking about the big places. When you look at, you just take a look at some of these wars. You go to Africa and take a look at that. Rwanda and the Congo. Republic of the Congo. That's been going on for 31 years. And so we've done a total of 6, and we really have 6, not including the fact that we obliterated, and it turned out to be a total obliteration, the nuclear, as you said, the future nuclear capability of Iran. And this one, I think we're going to get solved also. I feel confident we're going to get it solved.
For Vladimir Putin, it is an even bigger prize, a frozen conflict that locks in Russian gains, blocks Ukraine's NATO path, and leaves Moscow still in control of Crimea. For Zelensky, it is far more complicated to survive without surrender, to keep Western support alive, and to walk the tightrope between compromise and also capitulation. And for Europe, it is existential. Leaders like Macron, Scholz, no, they are not just bystanders. They fear being sidelined in a Trump-Putin bargain, one that leaves Ukraine weakened and also NATO fractured. European officials said Donald Trump briefed them vaguely on his Putin talks, leaving allies frustrated. They confirmed Putin still demands full control of the Donbas region, a non-starter for Kiev. Zelensky himself is framing Donald Trump as the key. After talks with the U.S. envoy Keith Kellogg, he declared, and let me quote him here, that Russia can only be forced into peace through strength, and President Trump has that strength.
Really, I think so.